Hello, everybody, and welcome to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you're all having a good Thursday. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in Lombard, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, with me, as always, of course, is a man who has a quick word he'd like to say, Mr. Drew Gwillem. Drew, by all means, the mic is yours.
Ryan and Matt are our football guys. Once again.
Here we go again, folks. Yeah, I mean, what else can we say? It's been an interesting day, to say the very least. Drew, you started off. You want to just kick right into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, folks. Yes, it is true. Ryan and Matt are back. No, not Nagy and Pace. This is Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, and his new hire, head coach Matt Eberflus. That's right. The Bears have hired defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus as their new head coach. Obviously, was a potential prospect of the head coaches. We had heard potentially a finalist, if you will, finalist in quotations, for the Bears head coaching job. A lot of talk certainly going around in the airwaves right now, on TV, on radio, amongst the fan bases, Twitter and the chat rooms, and Facebook is a very mixed bag. But Drew, I kicked this off, man. Obviously, you had first word, so I want to give you the first chance to express your feelings on it. Obviously, Matt Eberflus is now the new head coach with Ryan Poles. What are your feelings about him getting hired? What do you think about him as being a head coach? What do you think he can do potentially for the Bears? All the thoughts and feelings in the world you have for what's new now for Chicago.
I don't know. But
okay.
really, I haven't heard much about him at all. Yes, he's had some good defenses there. They've done some good things on a low budget. There's no guys that get paid tons of money. But they have some nice players. They've done some nice things. I don't know. It seems like another Nagy type hire, and I hope it's not that way.
Yeah.
But the fact that you hear that the owners liked one guy, Ted Phillips, and somebody else liked another person, and then Poles goes with Eberflus.
Yeah.
So it shows, hey, he's there and he's allowed to do his own thing, and he's allowed to actually make his own decisions without people kind of butting in. So I guess we're about to find out, and we'll find out in the next, I don't know, handful of weeks what kind of staff he's going to put together and who he's going to bring in to help Justin Fields and help build an offense as a defensive guy.
Yeah.
So hopefully the staff he brings in is quality and good enough to do something with this offense.
It's, how do I say this nicely? It's a hire that I was kind of on the fence on. Now, hearing all the information on him, I'm still on the fence about this. If you ask me what did I think about this hire, I kind of go, with the whole shoulder shrug,
Yeah.
The problem, not the problem, I should say. So here's a little bit I've got on Matt Eberflus. Number one is, so he was brought in, he worked with Dallas. That's obviously, the start of his resume is in Dallas, or the bulk of it really is kind of in Dallas. He started off in Cleveland really as a linebackers coach, came over to the Dallas Cowboys by request of Rob Marinelli, former defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, for those who don't know. Was a huge part of making the Tampa 2 defense so electric with Chicago. Obviously, that time in Dallas was not all that fantastic at points, but nevertheless, Matt Eberflus worked really well with linebackers. He made Sean Lee into a really good linebacker. He helped, accelerate the timetable on a lot of guys that would have otherwise been probably mediocre and made them really special. And then he gets the defensive coordinator job with the Colts, where obviously Indianapolis defense has been in the top 10 now for like the last couple of years. I think they finished 10th this year or tied for 9th or something like that in defense. They were pretty good this year, and they have been since he's been the defensive coordinator. I definitely thought he could get a head coaching job at some point. Problem, again, not a problem, but for lack of a better term, the problem I'm seeing is that it's almost like going backwards. The Tampa 2 defense is what he ran in Indianapolis, right? It's the 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 corners and 2 safeties. That's kind of the base package for the Tampa 2. It kind of feels like going back to the Lovie Smith days, right? And
sure does.
listen, I understand there's a lot of people that are saying, well, Lovie Smith won games for us. We went to a Super Bowl. He got fired on a winning season of 10-6. Like, he was disrespected. And yes, he was a very good coach for the Bears at that time. By the time, and I don't know how you feel on this, Drew, but this is just me saying, I would say by 2011 and 12, there was a shift in the NFL that definitely felt like quarterbacks and throwing the football became more of a centralized way of running your offense. Not to say you can't run the football, but let's be very honest. What was Lovie Smith's offense at the time that they went to the Super Bowl? Run the ball with Thomas Jones, occasionally with Cedric Benson when he would want to run forward, and every now and then they'd throw a big bomb with Rex Grossman, which was like a 50-50 shot he was going to complete the pass, right? I mean, let's be honest. That offense that the Bears had at the time they went to the Super Bowl was not anything special. It was a lot of the defense winning the games for them, which, we were all like, yeah, that's fine. We went 13-3. We went to the Super Bowl, right? And special teams was a big part of that too. But it just feels like it's like going back to 2006 and it's 2022. This is something we've talked about with the Bulls, right? Garpax, Paxton and Foreman constantly trying to build the Bulls. It felt like in the 90s when it's 2018 and 19 and, and it's time to move on from that one single star and surround him with a couple of talented players. Like, you need a lot more. You need more presence of superstars. It doesn't work just one guy anymore. You need like 2 or 3 guys. And look what happened. Now the Bulls have that kind of built system. So I don't know how this is going to work. On the basis of everything I've seen with Matt Eberflus, it feels like it could be something that works. Now, what's interesting here is Trace Armstrong, who has a connection with the Bears, is an agent actually for both Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. It's a little interesting. I also did hear that
a lot of people talked about as a potential GM guy.
Exactly.
For teams.
Possible team president even was kind of the discussion also as well for Armstrong too, possibly. I mean, and I've also heard too, I guess Bill Polian did like Eberflus because of the Colts connection. I don't know to what length, but I guess he was okay with it. I don't think that played a role in this. I think this was Ryan Poles taking the reins, saying, this is my guy. Obviously, we've now heard the deal that Dan Quinn has returned back to Dallas. He's going to stay with Dallas, try and win a Super Bowl with them. Good luck. But I think once that came off the table, I think between Eberflus and Caldwell, probably went with the younger option, probably went with the guy that, he has probably more of a connection with. So I don't know. I don't know how this it's weird to say how this one's going to play out. My whole thinking is when you have one side of the ball that's like defense, right? Defense right now, is it the biggest problem? Well, there's some issues you got to fix for sure. But is it really the biggest problem? I would be hesitant to say probably no. The biggest issue that this team faces is offense. We don't have an offensive line. We now don't have a number 1 wide receiver. We are struggling to establish whether or not we have the proper quarterback in position. Looks like he might be the guy, but it's hard to tell because he hasn't, in 1 year, it was an up and down mess. It was a catastrophe almost to some degree. for a rookie quarterback to have to step in, knowing that we traded up for this guy and traded a lot for him in order to have him be the franchise player. I was of the mindset that, again, Brian Dable or somebody else offensively would be the guy to step into that role. But obviously, Ryan Poles might know something that maybe we don't. I'm not sure. It's an interesting move, to say the least. I guess we'll see how this one kind of pans out. But look, for Matt Eberflus, obviously, like you said, Drew, there's a lot that's going to go into this situation on who they're going to hire, right? We know that offense and he's going to handle the defense. So it really kind of comes down to who's going to run the offense, right? Who's going to be his OC? Who's going to be the man in charge of building and regrowing and building this offense back to, well, actually giving it a glory day, I guess. Have the Bears ever had a glory day of offense? I don't even.
No.
It feels
No.
like it, right?
Never.
Yeah, not to the extent.
Even all those Lovey days, they won because of defense.
Exactly.
Special teams. That's how they did it. It wasn't the offense. Lovey never found a great offensive coordinator. Hopefully, the Eberflus can.
Yeah. Well, was it Lovey, if I'm not mistaken, that brought in Mike Marks?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. And what did he do? The first thing he wanted to do was, you don't need Greg Olsen. Yeah. You don't need Greg Olsen. Yeah. Well, we kind of did need Greg Olsen because we had nobody really to get the ball to, apparently.
Idiot.
Yeah. Again, and it's not, and listen, it's not to say like that big open, wide open offense stuff can't work, right? It's just we have never had that team that's been able to do it. Finally, we have a quarterback that might be able to work in that offense. But now the question is, well, what kind of offense is he going to be working in? So I have a list of guys. I'll list them out, and then Drew, I'll throw it to you on who you like on this. So we've got Joe Brady, who's obviously former Carolina Panther offensive coordinator.
Who got fired?
I still say a scapegoat thing by Matt Rule. Don't like Matt Rule, but whatever. I like Joe Brady a lot.
I think so.
Jim Caldwell, obviously, older guy, wants to probably be a head coach, might still become a head coach, but he is an offensive-minded guy, former quarterbacks coach, worked Peyton Manning, worked Matthew Stafford, never know. Kevin Patullo, the quarterback passing game coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, has been mentioned because he and Eberflus had worked together in Indianapolis. I don't know much about him, but obviously his time with Jalen Hurts, something seems to maybe have kind of clicked a little bit. Who knows? There's also Ken Dorsey, Buffalo Bills quarterback coach. A lot of people think that Brian Dable might take him with wherever he goes, maybe the Giants. So
if he goes anywhere.
Yeah, who knows? He may just move up in the list as the OC if Dable is out. So if you want to get on that quickly, I would say jump on that immediately, Bears, if you want to find your guy who's been working with, by the way, he worked with Cam Newton and Josh Allen. Then you have Pep Hamilton. A lot of people are very iffy on Pep. I know there's not a lot of people that are sure about where Pep Hamilton's at. But look, what he did in Houston this year as the quarterback coach with a nobody guy really in Davis Mills. I mean, he had some good games. And he's a veteran quarterback coach. He's worked with some really good guys, Andrew Luck especially. Who knows? And then finally, I'm going to put his name out there too, Mike Kafka, who, if you don't know that name from here in Chicago, he is a former Northwestern quarterback from back in the glory days of Northwestern in 2010, 11, that kind of time, or 2009, 2010. He's a quarterback coach and the passing game coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Who's he been working with this whole time? Also, who does he actually know in Kansas City as well? Ryan Poles. So, I mean, listen, these are just a few options. Drew, I listed a bunch of names there. Is there anybody in your mind that I had listed or didn't list that you think would be good for the offensive coordinator position for Matt Eberflus's coaching staff to help kind of reinvigorate this offense back to, or just give them any sort of vigor in general?
I don't mind the Joe Brady option if that's somebody they like.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it all depends on the head coach now.
It's true.
We got to hope and pray again.
Mm-hmm.
He brings in the right guy. I like Ken Dorsey option a little bit there. Working with Josh Allen all the time is always a positive when you would like to see your quarterback play like that.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. I like the Jim Caldwell idea too.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like a lot of teams are knocking his door down to get him be their head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to get back in the league. He could jump in and help Justin Fields, and I'd be okay with that. I'd be happy. They'd end up getting two guys that were liked by them. Just one was liked more by the new GM more than
Right.
the other. So he apparently I heard that he had a really good interview.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to bring Caldwell in as an offensive coordinator, I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I'm trying to find the words here. I listen. Obviously, a lot of people. Oh, you're biased, Joe Brady. Listen, what he did at LSU, I think was. You got to give him some credit, I think, right, for what's happening in the league right now. Joe Burrow's taking the league by storm. Jamar Chase might be a top 5 receiver at this point. And by the way, his former teammate, the guy who was actually his number 2, Justin Jefferson, is also taking the league by storm as a top 5 wide receiver.
Do you think that team was just maybe so good, their players were so talented that no matter what he did, they were gonna succeed because they had so much talent on that team, and that maybe he gets to the NFL and it didn't quite work out for him because maybe he's not as good.
That you know what, that has crossed my mind. It really has. Here's
Devil's
the thing.
advocate.
Yeah,
there a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think that I've always felt like he was a guy that should have progressed more up the ladder, right? I think that Matt Rule saw what happened at LSU. All the connection was really with Joe Brady because he works with the receivers. He worked with Joe Burrow. So immediately he says, oh, he works with quarterbacks and he works with wide receivers. Boom. Let's take him to Carolina. We get a quarterback. We got all these receivers in Carolina, right? We're going to make it work. I think what happened is Matt Rule became the controlling voice there. Joe Brady tried to do his best with the offense, but Matt Rule's an offensive-minded guy, right? So I think this became a thing of like Joe Brady wants to call plays, but Matt Rule's probably overruling him, pun intended, on on what's
Well played,
happening.
sir.
I don't think Joe Brady got fired because he was a bad coordinator. I think he got fired because Matt Rule needed somebody to blame, and he picked Joe Brady as that guy because he's young and he was inexperienced. So, boom, he's the easy target, right? He's the easy scapegoat. But you're right. It could possibly be that Joe Brady might not be prepared. He might not be ready. He might be a little bit overzealous, perhaps, or whatever the right word would be, you know?
I don't think that's the situation. I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
And he would make for a good offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So just a thought.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I love Ken Dorsey. I love that idea. Bringing the guy that helped Josh Allen become the quarterback that he is, right? Brian Daboll took a big part of that as well, but Ken Dorsey worked one-on-one with him. I like that. I'm okay with Kafka too. And I know it's, well, you're bringing another kid home to Chicago. And it's like, yeah, but he's worked a lot with Patrick Mahomes on a one-on-one basis. So anybody who's working with a star quarterback, I don't mind. And I like the Caldwell thing too. I don't know how that relationship might work because Caldwell might be I don't think he'd be vindictive about the fact, like, I could have been the head coach instead of you. But
Right.
I feel like he would be able to make the relationship work. But you never know, right? It's a veteran coach who was a former head coach, now an offensive coordinator, working with a first-time ever head coach. I don't know how that dynamic would work. That's the only thing that makes me a little iffy on it. But I do like the idea of bringing in a veteran coach to help coach your young Justin Fields, potentially get him up there. I mean, I don't know. Look, on the basis of all of this, and I'll ask this final question to throw to you, Drew. I'm not sure where this whole thing goes at this point. It's very thrown up in the air. If you ask me for a prediction right now on where the Bears are going at, I couldn't give you one. To be quite honest, at this point,
True
it feels
story.
like we may go. The Bears may go possibly 8-9 in this first year if they're lucky. Most likely, it feels like they're going to have a repeat of last season. But and I can only say that right now. We'll know more, obviously, when they get the coaching staff. But Drew, do you have any prediction you could possibly throw out? I know it's super early, but any prediction you think for where the Bears might be at, from this point? Do you see it going forward? Do you see it going backwards? Where do you feel this move takes the Bears right
I wish I knew. I just
now? I know it's hard.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Hard to tell until they get going. They're going to be changing a lot
Mhm.
again. So we're going to find out what kind of talent this new GM can pull
Yeah.
with some limited draft picks and some tough decisions to make from the past regime, kind of setting them back.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of work to do, and we're going to find out real quick if they're up for the job. And I hope and pray. Again, 2 words I keep using: hope and pray with this team, and hope that they made the right choices.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our guy King B-Max says this. He says this was a little ways back when we were talking about it. He says at the time that offense, talking about Lovie Smith's offense, at the time that offense was get a short field from a at the time that offense was get a short field from a Devin Hester return or defensive takeaway, or a team so terrified to punt to Devin Hester they flubbed the punt. Yeah, pretty much. It was a lot of special teams and defense that led the charge on that offense. Nowadays, I don't even know. I think they would probably get. I don't even know if it would work the same way anymore. He also had this to say. He said it was like watching the 2011 Bulls. Exciting because of a dynamic player like D Rose, top of the league defense, but the offense was an absolute chore. I like that. That's a good comparison. Very good comparison. Drew, I mean, 2011 Bulls. I mean, what do you think? It sounds like it clicks to me.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, King B-Mac, man, you're on point. I like that.
Other than D Rose scoring a bunch of points.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish honestly, to the Bears fans out there that watch, yes, you can say we're being cynical or whatever. Look, I've taught myself now, and I know I've said it. I will say this, and you can take this however you want. Am I a fan of the Bears still? Sure. Am I a part of the fan bases that are the Bears? Maybe not necessarily. Right? Take that for what you will. You know, call me out, yell at me. I don't really care at this point. You guys yell at me anyways. But
you're a bad fan.
I'm a bad fan. I'm a bad fan. But listen, I'm not investing any time or energy into a team that has not shown me anything just yet. Once they show me something, then maybe I'll invest my time and energy and possibly my money back into the team. Because I'll tell fans right now, you want to exact change, take it from the Bulls fans. They stopped going to Bulls games. They stopped paying money to the Bulls. They dropped in attendance. The Bulls noticed that, and that's when change happened. If you stop paying for the jerseys, for the hats, for the tickets, for whatever it is that has that Bears logo that goes to their wallets, I'm telling you, we as the fans can exact change on an organization. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know how this is going to go. All the best to Matt Eberflus, I guess, and Ryan Poles. My biggest fear,
crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. My biggest fear right now is that George McCaskey in some way is going to interfere with this. That he's going to make some sort of call, he's going to make some sort of gesture, he's going to do something to put his sort of stamp of approval on this team, which is something that we as fans don't really need to see. The Bears don't really need it. What we need is to see development and progress. We don't need the owner saying, yeah, this looks like a good team. We don't need you. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they do on the field.
See, I really don't think that's one thing I think he is honest about. I don't think he meddles in football decisions.
Yeah.
I just think that he is a self-proclaimed fan.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a clue how to pick the people to make the football decisions.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. That's why they're constantly bringing other people in from the outside to consult.
Absolutely. And listen, How much was Bill Polian involved in this decision-making process? Who actually knows, right? Who actually knows how much of that quote-unquote brain trust that was Polian, McCaskey, and Phillips actually went into some of the decisions that were being made here, or on the list of people that they were looking at? Who knows? But I'll say this. Ryan Poles seems like he's a smart guy. He seems like he understands what he has to do. He took the bull by the horns. Pun intended, no pun intended, whatever. And has really kind of said he's going to wrestle this bear. Pun intended. A lot of puns in this one. I won't hold my breath on it. I'll cross my fingers. I'll hope for the best. Say a Hail Mary for them, and hope to God that they can throw a Hail Mary at the end of the Super Bowl next year to maybe win it. That's a fever dream, I know. But
If I could think of a positive, I heard he's respected.
very much.
So-
Everybody had great things to say about him.
That's a good start.
Yes. If anything, yeah, there you go. For what the Bears have done in hiring these guys, people have nice things to say about them. It's a good way to start off on a good foot. All right.
Yeah, we don't need any more nice guys.
Yeah. And
Our
speaking-
last Ryan and Matt,
Yeah.
they were too nice. Okay,
Very
they were
nice.
nice guys. All right,
Very-
everybody talked about how nice they are. I don't give a crap. I don't want another nice guy.
Yeah.
Let's beat some ass.
And let me throw this out there real quick too. Lovie Smith was a nice guy, very nice guy, very well respected guy. And the only time I ever saw him get angry, I don't know if you remember this, but the only time I saw him angry was when Brian Greasy in the NFC Championship in 2000 in the 06-07 season threw a touchdown pass, and apparently he wasn't supposed to call that play. He called a different play, and that's the only time I ever saw Lovie Smith go off on a player, on Brian Greasy after he threw a touchdown. Sometimes nice guy. It pays to be a nice guy. Trust me, two nice guys right here. But sometimes it's okay to kind of be a little bit of a you-know-what. But don't be too much of a you-know-what. And speaking of too much of a you-know-what, let's move to this next subject here. Because, folks, the Denver Broncos have a new head coach as well. Oh, goody. Guess who it is? Nathaniel Hackett, the former Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator. Shocking? Coincidence? Conspiracy theory? All of the above? Who knows? Yes, Nathaniel Hackett. Listen, very well proven guy. OC with the Buffalo Bills. Eventually worked with the Jacksonville Jaguars as quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. Eventually moved up. And then became the OC for the Green Bay Packers in the last 3 years. Very good relationship with Matt LaFleur. And obviously, let's get into this big question, and I'm going to throw it to you, Drew. This feels like a move that was made with purpose. A particular,
Sure does.
particular purpose, if not anything else. Nathaniel
what
Hackett.
might that be?
Yeah, exactly. Nathaniel Hackett, coming from Green Bay, obviously has now triggered everybody across the internet, including ourselves here, to wonder, is this the move that's getting Aaron Rodgers traded from Green Bay to the Denver Broncos? It's an interesting thought. And Drew, I want you to start it off, buddy. I want to hear what you have to say on it.
Well, before they got Hackett, I thought if Rodgers was on his way out of Green Bay, which I'm pretty sure he is at this point, sounds like it. They're in cap hell. He doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. They can't win. Sounds like he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
So to me, I said Denver would be his best option. He's linked to there before. They have an offense with a lot of talent on it.
They do.
Just a quarterback away. Along with a really good defense. So if he wants to pull a Tom Brady move and switch to another team,
yeah,
I don't see why he would go anywhere else.
Right.
And now that they have a head coach who's a guy he previously worked with that has been outspoken about how much he likes him and the quality of coach that he is.
Yeah.
So I think it just sets everything up, and it's really aligned everything for him to make the move to Denver.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh, Aaron. Oh, Aaron Rodgers.
Karen Rodgers.
Karen.
Yeah.
Where do we begin with?
Are you gonna rant? Are you gonna rant right now?
I might.
Okay.
I can't even begin to think that you would possibly tarnish your legacy unless your predecessor, your master before you may have done the same thing. Oh wait, yeah, he did. That's right, Brett Favre. You know what's interesting? I don't know if you nobody knows this. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre actually really good friends now. Really good friends now. You know why? Because they're the same exact person. They're at a point in their careers where I think they're seeing that the end's about to come. They're starting to realize that maybe the team's not as good as they thought it was. So they're going to find any opportunity to possibly make a move. They're going to say all the right things to make them sound like the victim so that, they are the ones that get all the sympathy when there is no more sympathy anymore, I think, for Aaron Rodgers. Zero. Nada.
God, I hope not.
I hope not either. Because
whining. You hear him whining about, everybody was rooting against us because of my vaccination status. Like, oh my God, dude, shut up.
All right, Aaron. Here's the deal.
What a wiener.
Beautifully done. Here's the deal, Aaron. We hated you and we despised you before the vaccination status.
Because you're a jackass.
Because you're a jerk and a jackass. And you do this crap constantly. You pull this stuff all the time. You are such it's not my fault, it's their fault. They don't like me. Did you ever think that maybe nobody likes you because you're the ass? I'm just saying, Aaron. It would be very easy to just point fingers at people. But what's that old saying, right? You point one finger at one person, there's four others pointing back at you, which really it's three. It's really three fingers pointing back at you. But you get what I'm saying. Come on, Aaron Rodgers. Come on. And not only that, but let's be honest. So you moved to Denver. What do you think they're going to give up for you? They're probably going to give up. What? You think Jerry Jeudy's going to stay? I mean, maybe, right? That's probably part of your conditions. But you think Green Bay's not going to try to ask for the farm? Try to get a bunch of players, a bunch of talent? I mean, think about that team, too, right now. What? Jerry Jeudy's their only top receiver. Cortland Sutton can't stay healthy. Noah Fant is a so-so kind of player. Melvin Gordon might be out. Javonte Williams is really your only kind of main threat in the backfield with him. And he seems to be a pretty good running back, and he seems to be like he'll be the feature back. KJ Hamler could be good if they just utilized him more, I think. And that defense is pretty solid. What's up?
He was hurt all season.
He's hurt all season. And you never know, right? Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick has been pretty solid for the most part, too, as a wide receiver. But you're in the same division. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and let's throw him in there for the casual sense, Derek Carr. Is Derek Carr really a big threat to you? Probably not. Is Herbert a big threat to you? Well, he's up and coming. Is Patrick Mahomes a threat to you? Yes. Patrick Mahomes is the main threat to you. Not to mention you're in the AFC, where you've got Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and a plethora of other teams that are coming for you, right?
But you know what? Denver has the best defense out of anybody in that division.
It's true.
And then you throw him in that offense, instantly puts him at the top, battling with Kansas City.
It's true. It's possible. It's possible. My big thing, though, is that how much, again, quarterbacking is not just about skill, right? It's about what relationships can you create with the people around you, right? What can you do to build the team around? Sorry, I was checking. I was checking to see if Aaron Rodgers hit me up or not. Apologies. He hasn't, by the way. You need to be able to be a good person. You need to be able to be a good teammate. You need to be able to be a leader. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has ever had those qualities about himself to the extent that's needed to bring your team to a championship, right? I think that Aaron Rodgers has always distanced himself away from the team. It's not about I am one of you. It is there is me and then there is the rest of you. Which, yes, quarterbacks to some degree are always held to a higher standard. But Aaron thinks he is God. For crying out loud, the man grew out of his hair and now believes in all this, extra stuff that for some reason now is starting to come out. I'm not even going to get into the whole thing with the vax and stuff because the fact of the matter is we didn't like you beforehand because you were already a jerk and everything with the media and the fans and all that stuff. The fact that you sit up there on your so-called ivory tower in Green Bay and think you're better than everybody else. Like, what was it? The thing he said, he's like, they got the franchise tag for Devontae Adams. They should. I know he doesn't really want the franchise tag. Like, what kind of shot is that? Unbelievable. He thinks he can just rule the world with his voice, that he has final say over the autonomy of the Green. It's like he is holding the Green Bay Packers hostage, and he expects the Green Bay Packers to have Stockholm Syndrome and be like, oh, yeah, whatever he wants, we'll do whatever he wants. Yeah, we love Aaron Rodgers. If I were them, I'd trade him to Denver and just see him suffer. Because I guarantee you it doesn't work in Denver. I get the feeling it doesn't work in Denver. They may have some big passing games. They may even have a winning record. He's not winning a Super Bowl. He may not even win the division. I don't understand this move. But if this is the way the Denver Broncos want to go, because they're like, well, we only won with John Elway and Peyton Manning, so we need a Hall of Fame quarterback to save our butt again. That's a short-term goal. You need to think long-term. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know where Aaron Rodgers thinks that this is going to be some sort of saving grace for him at this point, that Denver's going to be the final solution to the mix. I mean, Vegas isn't that better of an option, to be quite honest. And I still don't understand why he's only thinking about why he's only being connected to the AFC West, if that is the way he's directing himself. Why do you want to be in the same division with Patrick Mahomes? Why do you want to fight that fight? Look at the NFC.
Because he's a cocky, arrogant person.
Exactly. Because he thinks he can beat the world. But why leave? And Drew, tell me, why should he leave the NFC, really? When you look around, how many of these teams right now in the NFC can you honestly say are going to beat him in a one-on-one, right?
He shouldn't.
He shouldn't. He rules the world right now in the NFC.
Especially in our division.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, as fans of the Bears, I'm sure we'd be very happy to see him walk away.
I'm thrilled. Get him the hell out of here. Move on.
See ya. Goodbye. Have fun. I don't know. Now, here's the thing. I know Pittsburgh's been a big question mark, right? I know and I think it may work in Pittsburgh. Maybe it works in Pittsburgh. But ask yourself this. Would Mike Tomlin tolerate Aaron Rodgers' antics? Would Mike Tomlin, granted, he tolerated Antonio Brown for a long time.
It would make for some good press conferences.
Yeah. Yes. It would make for some good press conferences. I mean,
Hearing
he tolerated
what Tomlin will respond with back. Because he's not shy.
Well, we know Tomlin does not take anything lying down. He comes right back. He talked back on Antonio Brown. He did it to Le'Veon Bell. He is not afraid to voice his opinion. He told Mike Pouncey to shut up, and Mike Pouncey could probably throw him across a field. Mike Tomlin is not afraid. He does not back down. And there again, though, I don't know how that dynamic works in Pittsburgh. If that's the case, like you said, fun for press conferences for sure. But how does that dynamic work long term? I mean, Chase Claypool, for the love of God, he seems like he's having issues. I don't know. Can he get along with these guys? Can he build chemistry? I have a hard time feeling like he would. I have a very hard time feeling like he would. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I honestly, I feel like he's out of Green Bay. I feel like he will probably go to somewhere like Denver or Pittsburgh. But I think he'll have more of the status quo average, where Green Bay will be allowed to rebuild and address all their issues and stuff. And probably have to work from the ground up, but at least from that point, they'll be able to kind of say, hey, at least we have a headache out of our hair. I know it's losing a top player. I know it's Matt LaFleur is going to take a risk on that, but I trust him. We'll see. If anything, it gives the Bears a fair chance to possibly win the division. All you then got to do is beat Kirk Cousins, and hey, come on, it's Kirk Cousins.
It's not really difficult.
Not really that hard. Maybe the Lions. I don't know. Dan Campbell may be building something there. Who knows? They've got something going on, I think, there. But we'll see with Green Bay. We'll see. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have some extra time we can burn on here, folks. Thank God. So when we do come back, we're going to cycle through some top stories that have been hitting the sports world. Plus, we'll be getting a little bit more into the picks and predictions for the upcoming week. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I'm still here with Drew Gwillem. We just had an impeccable conversation about the Bears' new head coach, Matt Eberflus, and the potential of what could be for his offense, plus what Nathaniel Hackett and the Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers may be doing in Denver. Will they be reuniting or not? Obviously, comment down below. We want to hear from you guys as well. Real quick, before we get into the next subject, I just want to read some stuff. Our guy King B-Mac obviously had some comments to make. He said, at least Ryan and Matt are still their football guys. That's true. It's at least it's not the C word they've been using, right? It's not the word they've been using now.
Oh, no, I'm sure they're going to collaborate, too. At some point. The collaboration will be great.
Oh, boy. All right. Good old collaboration. All right.
Why stray with what works, right?
Right, yeah.
We don't want to confuse them. Why would we go with anybody else other than a Ryan and a Matt?
Right. Why try something?
Run it back.
Yeah, why try something new? Let's go back to the old way of doing things. Let's go back to 2006 and 07. All right. Also, King Baymack had to say, think about it as far this goes to Aaron Rodgers. Says, think about it. He's following the Peyton Manning mold. A little bit. You know, Peyton left Indianapolis, obviously knowing that a young gun was coming in for Andrew Luck. But that's the thing. Andrew Luck came in and played really well for the Colts and got into the playoffs. Jordan Love, I'm sorry to say, I'm not feeling the vibe. No. Feels like a bust. Really may need to think about getting another quarterback if that's the case. So I wouldn't say Peyton Manning mold. It definitely to me, it just feels like the Brett Favre mold. That's what it feels like. I'm not happy here. You're not giving me what I want. I'm not winning here like I used to. I'm fed up with this. I want to leave and go somewhere else. But that didn't really work for Brett Favre, did it either? So one season, and he had to leave the Jets, retiring for the second time, and go to the Vikings. Ridiculous. He also said Peyton only won his one title in Indy. Was a constant playoff disappointment, and went to Denver and finally won his second and retired.
Well, I got one thing to say to that. Tom Brady got in his way every time, and he was the greatest quarterback of all time.
Absolutely.
And as great as Peyton was, he's not Tom Brady.
Nope. I would say that Peyton Manning, top 10, top 5 quarterback all time, easily. But it's true. He had struggled with Brady. He struggled against Brady and those Patriots. And by the way, too, keep this in mind. I've said this before. In the 22 years of the Super Bowl thus far, in the past 22 years, 6 teams, I've said 6 teams have won it by running the football with, consistently playing great defense while the quarterback suffered. Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl was one of those moments. So keep in mind, he did not play well in that Super Bowl. And they needed Brock Osweiler to fill the gap for quite a few bit of the season there.
Yikes.
When they went to the Super Bowl. Take that for what you will do.
Yikes.
Yes. Not a great send-off, I would say, for Peyton Manning, other than he got a Super Bowl victory at the end. All right, well, let's move into this next part, folks. So these are some of the top stories that have been hitting the NFL, and then we'll get into the picks and predictions. So I just want to hit these real quick because I find these to be the most interesting. Drew, you ready to do this, man?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. So the second half, first things first, folks. Yeah, Antonio Brown is back in the news again. Ooh, shocker. What's it about? Well, apparently Antonio Brown is considering filing a defamation lawsuit against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm not kidding, folks. This is true. So according to Antonio Brown's attorney, Sean Burstein, I hope I'm saying that right. He is basically saying that Brown was released for his injury and ignored and had his pleas for his injury that it wasn't as good, basically saying that he couldn't go on the field, he couldn't play because he hurt his ankle, and therefore they ignored all of that what he was saying and then released him from the team because he was hurt. So they're filing the lawsuit is a part of that. The other part of it is that it is defamation because there is this quote unquote spun story that has been talked about that he has had a mental health episode when he was on the field, which he has been downplaying consistently in his statements, and now his lawyer or his attorney is now also doing that as well. And it has also been stated that they are holding head coach Bruce Arians, the Buccaneers, general manager, and anyone else who worked the quote-unquote story responsible in said lawsuit. And apparently there's quite a few people that are going to be named in this thing. I don't know where to begin with this.
No.
The word is that apparently, according to Antonio Brown, they were giving him $200,000 and a chance to go check into a what do you want to call it?
Mental health.
Mental health.
To get it to work on his mental health.
Yes,
basically.
it's essentially a place where he could work on his mental health and get checked out, make sure he's okay. And in classic Antonio Brown fashion, he's like, I'm not taking that. I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm totally okay. And this is where I've ranted on this before, and I'll say this again. He is either lying to himself and has serious issues going on in his mind, and he might still nevertheless with the other side of it, or he is truly the biggest diva and the biggest idiot, jerk, whatever else you want to call him, you could ever find in NFL history, topping Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson by a full milestone. I used to think that OBJ was worse than him. Now, because OBJ's been a little bit quieter, Antonio Brown is like winning the race on this one. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. Drew, what are your thoughts on this whole Antonio Brown situation? There's so much more that I don't think even hearing about this story, but on the basis of him possibly filing a lawsuit against Tampa Bay, if this does happen, what are your thoughts on the possible outcome of this, and just your thoughts on Antonio Brown even going to this length at this point?
I think the fact that he thought that he could win a lawsuit against them in this situation,
yeah,
speaks to his mental health issues.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to make light about it,
Right.
but clearly
Mhm.
something's not right.
Yeah.
Look yourself in the mirror at some point and realize something's going on here, or again, like you said, he's just an asshole.
Yeah, right.
And it could very well be the truth.
Right.
But some of the things that have happened and things he's done,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't scream normal.
No.
So they gave him like $200,000 and the opportunity to help.
Yeah.
And I guess if you can't admit it to yourself, you're not going to accept that, no matter how much money it is and whatever. But you know, it's I don't know. It's a tough situation,
Hmm.
and you're basically given that opportunity on a platter, and you just turn it down. And
Yeah.
again, I can't speak to how hard that must be, or just trying to admit to yourself that you have mental health problems.
Yeah.
Like that has to be really hard in itself,
Absolutely.
and to even ask for help.
Oh yeah.
So I hope at some point he does get some help for this and it gets figured out, because the things that are happening aren't normal. You don't see them happening all the time and every day.
That's the thing is that everything that we've seen from Antonio Brown, I don't. Again, this to go. You could say, well, Devontae's Burfict hit was kind of like the charging point. Honestly, you can make the argument that this was happening beforehand because, again, Troy Polamalu got all mad at him because he was talking too much smack and he was really trying to get under his skin. And at some point, he tried popping him a couple of times and trying getting in his face. When you get Troy Polamalu to go into Mike Tomlin's office and say you can't bleep and work with this guy, that's a bit of a red flag, I would have to say. So I listen. I do hope, as somebody who personally myself has struggled with things before in the past. I won't go into detail, but it's very hard to ask for help. It's very hard to go to the people that you know and love the most, and ask for help, or just admit to yourself that you have possibly an issue going on. But once you do, I tell you right now, you'll be able to clear that path and no problem, especially if you have the right people around you to help you get through it. Trust me, I have great people around me right now, both that I've had my entire life and, people I've just met recently now in my life, like Drew and so many others that have come into my life that have really helped me a lot in a lot of difficult times. So it means a lot to have those people, but it also means a lot to know too that those people can sometimes are able to help you as well, because I feel like Antonio Brown has a lot of yes people around him. There's nobody around him saying, "Hey, what you're doing is possibly hurting your image, hurting your chances of playing at the next level." That is something he needs to seriously think about. I said this before on Blow the Whistle. I joked about it. The XFL, the USFL, the CFL, European football might be his only options. I joked about it, but seriously, he might be coming to the point where, he's saying he wants to go play in Baltimore with Lamar. Is John Harbaugh going to put up with his nonsense? And
Nope.
how much is he going to like blocking 70% of the time?
See, I think he had that guy in Brady who was
Yeah.
letting him live with him
Yeah.
until he just basically it seemed like he just backhand to Brady with his comments as well.
Exactly. You had the best relationship probably in football. The guy that was backing you, even to the end, right? To the very end. He was saying he loves him and he wished him well. And he said everybody should be praying for him and stuff. Tom Brady still had your back. Still had your back. And you've twisted and turned this whole thing of, he's not really my friend, but I still love him. We were friends. We're buddies. But, Tampa lost, so I'm going to brag about that. It's so wishy-washy. It's unbelievable. Real quick before we move into it, our guy King B-Mac had this to say about the Peyton Manning stuff that we were just bringing up. He said, remember, it wasn't all Brady. His last year in Indy, they got knocked out by the Jets of all teams. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez-led Jets.
The Jets had a really good defense at that point, too.
Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie. Oh, real good. Forgot about. I told you, forget about that time.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah,
one year, and that was probably the year that Brady got hurt.
You know what? I might have been. What was it? 2008, I think, is when he got hurt with Matt Castle being the quarterback. I remember the Jets went to back-to-back AFC championships, but they couldn't do anything with it. And then, of course, he said, yeah, he ended up finishing 2-2 against Brady in his career. That's true. That's true. They ended up. It was a fair battle between the two of them. It was always fun. Now we've got the new one in
Very
Mahomes.
fun.
Absolutely.
Very fun.
Now we've got Mahomes and Allen. And I'm excited to see how that one plays out even more. All right, the next subject. Have you heard the word, folks, in Brooklyn? The word is that James Harden might not be returning next year. So reports are that James Harden, the all-star guard for the Brooklyn Nets, says he is not happy with the team. It has been reported apparently that he's not happy living in Brooklyn. He's not a fan of it. He says he has issues with Steve Nash's rotation of the roster and how guys are playing within the team. And biggest of all, apparently, that's kind of the shining sprite of them all, is the Kyrie Irving part-time problem, where Kyrie Irving sat out most of the season, it seemed like, then came back for these games, only to play part of the games because he can't play at home. And now James Harden is apparently very upset about all these different things. Now, James Harden has come out and said that this is a false report. This isn't true. But you never know with guys. They talk, right? They talk. Some guys will overhear them. They don't know what's going on. Messages get out, right? But, Drew, I'll ask you this, man. James Harden, reports are saying he's not happy. Does he have a reason to not be happy? You know, is it Kyrie Irving's fault that this whole thing seems to kind of be up and down with Brooklyn? Where are your thoughts with this situation in the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, I can understand being upset about Kyrie just being able to play part-time and wanting it to be a team and play together with everybody. I mean, as far as him not liking to live in Brooklyn, like, well, that'd be a good reason to move somewhere else. So I can understand why he would want to go.
Yeah.
Yes and no, but because they have a good team there. If KD comes back and is healthy, they have a really good shot at making it to the finals.
Yeah.
And then you listen to Brooklyn on their end, and they say they're not trading him. So it's hard to say what's going to happen unless he forces another trade and people just bow to his wishes again.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes, but trade deadline hasn't passed. There's lots of time.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I don't see him going anywhere this year. But I think in the offseason, it's definitely a possibility he can be moved for other pieces to add to this team to make them whatever. Who knows? But anything you add around KD and you get a lot for Harden, it's going to be a positive.
Yeah, listen, the whole thing I have of, is this Harden's fault? Or where is the thing with Harden on this? Listen, remember this, folks. He chose to go to Brooklyn. And he was there last year and into this season. He should have known that Kyrie Irving was possibly going to do this. Don't tell me you didn't talk to him. Don't tell me that you didn't think about him not being vaccinated or whatever the case is with him. Who knows what his head's at? It is on James Harden for choosing Brooklyn over Philadelphia. Remember, he could be in Philly right now. They would have traded him to Philly for Ben Simmons plus a few other things. But he chose Brooklyn. He wanted to be with that superstar team. And Brooklyn gave up a lot to get him. Remember that. A lot. Honestly, James Harden, it's kind of a little bit on your fault. But guess who's also a part of this? Kyrie Irving.
Your favorite.
My favorite.
One of them.
One of my favorites. I already mentioned my favorite. Listen, two things can be true at any given time, right? You can say two things that can absolutely be true. One is, it's true. He does not have to get the vaccine if he doesn't want to. It is a New York City mandate that says you have to be vaccinated to be in the Barclays Center. As a player, as an employee, as a fan, that's the mandate for New York City. He does not have to abide by that rule and get the vaccine if he doesn't want to. That's a fair thing. That is true. He does not have to do that. I'm not all for mandates myself either. I don't like it. No, a lot of people don't like it. But
agreed.
Here's the thing with Kyrie Irving. He is acting selfish in this regard, in my opinion. This is just me speaking. By not being out there on the court with your team, you are being selfish, and you are wasting an opportunity for the Brooklyn Nets to be a possible champion. This team should be right there with Phoenix, right there with Golden State. And instead, they're sitting somewhere in the middle. The playoff team's still bound, yes. Probably still won't make the playoffs, but how good a team? Sorry, I get choked up. How good a team are they really? We don't know. Because Kevin Durant's injury is getting injured now. James Harden can say all he wants, but I guarantee he's definitely frustrated. And Kyrie Irving's only out there for half the games. We don't know what the potential of this team could look like because everybody's all over the place. I put blame on this for James Harden making the decision to go to Brooklyn. But again, two things can be true at the same time. It's true. Kyrie Irving can choose whatever he wants to do with his body. But it doesn't take away from the fact that from my eyes at least, he's acting selfish and not helping the team. You can take it however you want. You can yell at me however you want about it. But think about this. If Kirk Cousins is there for what? The 2 games that he missed with being on the protocols? If he would have been there, did the Vikings maybe make the playoffs? It's possible, right? If Carson Wentz wasn't out for what, a game or 2 with the COVID protocol stuff, are the Colts in the playoffs? It's possible. You at least got to give yourself a good enough chance. And I think Kyrie Irving has taken a lot of those chances away. So James Harden doesn't have a right to be angry about some of this to some degree because you chose to come here. But I can understand where his ire and anger might be coming from and his frustration because look at the situation that's going on in Brooklyn right now. If we as Bulls fans were seeing this right now, where it was Zach LaVine is only playing part-time, Vooch is injured, and DeMar DeRozan's playing by himself, do you think DeMar DeRozan would be happy? Probably not. Probably not. Ask LeBron how that's going in Los Angeles, where you've got an injured Anthony Davis who's now back, but you know he's injury prone. You got a guy in Russell Westbrook who shows up like every other third game, and so he has to do everything himself. Ask him how that's going. I guarantee you he's not very happy right now. And GM LeBron most likely wants to trade everybody. We'll see what happens with Brooklyn. All I can say is keep it up. I'd love to see Chicago back in the top.
Yeah.
Back
Good
in
for the
top.
Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into those guys next week because we'll have to see how things pan out because the deadline's coming up soon. So we'll be talking about them very soon here too. All right, real quick, we're going to pour into this just very, very quickly, and then we'll get to the picks and predictions. So, Drew, obviously, we heard MLB Hall of Fame. The vote happened. David Ortiz is in. He got about 77% of the votes, I believe. But the bigger thing on here seems to be that Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, the quote-unquote steroid guys in their last year, and along with Kurt Schilling as well, all are off the ballot now after their 10th and final time being on the ballot. This was it for them. And there's obviously been a lot of talk about whether or not they should be in the Hall of Fame. I want to go to you. What is your reaction on Bonds and Clemens and Sosa not being in the Hall of Fame? Do you think they should be in the Hall of Fame? I want to get your take before I go to mine.
Absolutely. I do.
Okay.
Especially Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was a big time user for this, but
right.
He had great numbers before that
Mm-hmm.
time came. Before you saw the massive increase in size, Bonds still had really great numbers.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sosa as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think there's something that should note that they were steroid users during this era of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should know that these guys use steroids just as well as everybody should know that these guys are Hall of Famers.
Yeah. How do I put this? I just wanted to kind of think real quick and say how I'm going to put this. So I was watching CBS Sports real quick. Watching CBS Sports, Danny Amendolara, like his show, The DA Show. Think he's really good at what he does. Doesn't get enough credit for what he does. I thought he had a really good take on this, and that is that baseball writers now that are voting, the Baseball Writers Association that are currently voting in the Hall of Fame, are older guys, right? We made reference to that. There are a lot of older gentlemen that are in the Baseball Writers Association that make these decisions, right?
Baseball purists.
Baseball purists, thank you. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. These guys were covering Bonds and Clemens and Sosa and all these guys from that kind of era, right? Palmeiro and all these dudes. So, for those that don't know, Barry Bonds was kind of, what's the best word? Aaron Rodgers-esque, right? Very
an asshole.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. He was not good with the media. He was not a nice guy with the media. He very much was abrasive. He very much was willing to, talk back to the writers, tell them, that's not right, call them out. He wanted to fist fight a couple of them from what I remember kind of back in the day when he was with Pittsburgh. There's a lot with Barry Bonds that the writers would probably hold against him, right? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Bonds did admit to taking the cream or whatever it was he said. He's like, oh, I thought it was just something else, right? So he kind of admitted to it. But there's no statistical evidence, but, for lack of a better term, statistical evidence. There's nothing on paper that says, hey, this guy tested positive, right? Just like with Sammy Sosa, just like with Roger Clemens, and even still, Roger Clemens was accused for it kind of later in his career because it was like, man, this guy's in his 40s, but he's still throwing like 97, 98 miles an hour. It's crazy, right? I agree. My stance has changed significantly at this point, and quickly, too. I was very much against them being in the Hall of Fame for a long time, and even to this point. But now I've come to realize they should be, because Adam Passan made a great note. The Baseball Hall of Fame is about holding the history of baseball accountable, right? Putting the history of baseball in there. Steroids, unfortunately, is a part of the history of baseball. To not have these guys in there is to ignore a part of history. Baseball is not pure. Let's be honest. It's not pure. It hasn't been for over 100 years at this point. Let's not forget that there was a point that there were certain people that couldn't play baseball in the major leagues because of how they looked or where they came from. So baseball is not exactly pure, okay? So I'm on the same note. I think they should be in there. I agree. There should be some sort of notch on them, like an asterisk that says, hey, by the way, this guy was accused or was, listen, David Ortiz, right? David Ortiz, 2009, he got hit for steroids, right? And the only reason we know David Ortiz got hit like that was because he was on a list of like 100 guys that got tested positive. And he was the main guy that got kind of singled out because he was one of the biggest names in baseball. He's a 2-time World Series champion at that point. So it begs the question of if this was okay or not. I think they should be voted in. I think they should have been voted in on this one.
Give them their own steroid wing.
Yeah, give them the steroid wing of fame or shame or whatever you want to call it. But it is important that we preserve baseball's history, good and bad.
How many others made it through that never got caught?
Yeah, exactly.
There's got to be some.
Yeah. God, Brian Braun, how many times has he been caught? Alex Rodriguez got popped, right? And those are just the guys that we know that have gotten tested positive. Like you said, how many guys that we don't know in the minor leagues or that are just role players that jump from team to team? And you go, wow, that guy hit 30 home runs, but he just can't hold a contract, right? What about Trevor Bauer? He's already got a lot of issues as it is, but he keeps jumping from team to team on the one-year deals and stuff, right? You want to preserve the history of baseball. Recognize that baseball's history is not all perfect, right? Ty Cobb is one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game, and he was also a very well-noted racist, right? Very well-noted racist. Kennesaw Mountain Landis commissioner of baseball, another notable racist, did not want anybody who wasn't white in baseball. It's important to remember that history in baseball is not quote unquote pure. And no sport is pure. I've changed my mind. They should be in. You can argue against me, and I'd love to hear it. Well, folks, we got to get out of here. It's that time. It's picks and predictions. Drew, we're coming down to the end of it here. These are the final 2 games before the big one.
Sad but true.
For the big one. So, you ready to do this?
Oh, yeah. Always.
Let's do this. And by the way, folks.
Are you ready for this one?
Well, listen, I put your picks on there. I don't know if they're those picks or not. I went off of what you said yesterday. So here's hoping. Here we go, folks. Here we go. First game up, Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs. The spread right now is Kansas City favored by 7. The over-under is at 54.5. Drew, AFC Championship game, Bengals, Chiefs. Who are you picking?
I love what the Bengals have been doing. They've looked good. I don't think they're there yet.
Okay.
The Chiefs have proven they're the Chiefs. They're ready to go with playoff time. We're going to hammer down, and we're going to kick the crap out of some teams.
Yep.
Even when it looks like we're beat, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going back to another Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. Folks, if I don't do it, you'll call me out. You'll say I'm not one of them. I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going to do it. I think they proved something against the Chiefs in the regular season. I agree. They're super young. There is a very small chance that they actually can pull this off, I think. But because of Joe Burrow's poise, because of how that offense has been working almost on the same level that we see kind of with the Chiefs, right? It's very spread option, very much get the ball down the field, very much letting the receivers get yards after the catch. It's very similar to one another. It's just the Chiefs have big-time playmakers on offense, whereas the Bengals have one big-time playmaker, one guy that's really good, and then everybody else is kind of like, in that mix of being good or above average, right? And obviously that offensive line for Cincinnati is going to have to be stout. They are going to have to hold their ground against Chris Jones and Nick Bolden and all these guys the Chiefs have that are going to be trying to get to Joe Burrow.
Can't have 9 sacks.
Can't have 9 sacks. It is not, you cannot have it happen. I'll say 5. I'll go with 5.
I don't think so.
Yeah, even that.
Not against the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs. You have to find a way to stop them defensively. But I think the Bengals can do it. I will say Bengals favor for me by 2.5. And I'll say it goes the over. I think, listen, I'm going with the Bengals. Win or lose in this game, this should be a very fun matchup between these two teams.
Potential shootout right here.
Potential shootout. I think you're looking at the guy who is a former MVP in Patrick Mahomes, and the guy who I think should be considered for MVP in Joe Burrow for what he's done. This Bengals team was losing constantly, even when he was here. And in one season, they're in the AFC Championship. You can either say this is a Blake Bortles moment where it's a drop in the pan. I would like to think this is the beginning of something very beautiful for Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. This is not a Blake Bortles.
This kid is not Blake Bortles.
No.
He is so good. Joe Burrow, you make me so happy, man. I got my jersey. If they go to the Super Bowl, I'll tell you right now.
Tell yourself off.
They go to the Super Bowl, I'll wear that jersey, folks. I will wear that jersey. All right. In the last game, folks, the NFC Championship game. It is the San Francisco 49ers. They are taking on divisional rivals, Los Angeles Rams. Rams are only favored by 3.5 in this. And the over-under is at 46. Drew, 49ers, Rams. Seen it twice before now. Who are you picking for the NFC Championship?
I think this is going to be their best matchup yet between the two. I think this is going to be a great game as well. San Francisco is playing great football.
Yeah.
The Rams are the Rams. They have a lot of talent on that team.
Absolutely.
And their defense is playing really well, and I think overall the more talented team wins out here, and I think that's LA. And so I'm going with LA. I'm gonna keep it close. I'm gonna say by 3 points, but
okay.
I'm gonna take the under on this because I think defense steps up here.
Okay. All right. Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams too. I'm not saying they're a team of destiny or anything, but I do think Matthew Stafford is on his best game. Cooper Kupp, I think, is a future MVP, a wide receiver to change the whole game. This guy is fantastic. He is an X factor in this thing, and Odell Beckham Jr. is settling nicely into that number 2 receiver spot. If he stays with this team when they get back Robert Woods, they're going to be dangerous next year too. That's going to be an elite talent right there, folks. I'm going with the Rams on this. I'm saying Rams. I'll bump it up to Rams by 4. Rams by 4. Because I do think the 49ers defense is going to get after Matthew Stafford. They did a great job in their last game against them, right? The 49ers pulled a comeback. So give them a little credit where credit's due. I think, again, though, this is kind of like the Ryan Tannehill thing. Jimmy Garoppolo will be the either winner or loser of this game for the 49ers. He cannot throw an interception in this game. He cannot. This Rams team is too good to throw a pick against. You cannot turn the ball over.
He's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. And who knows? And listen, we don't know how healthy is Deebo Samuel right now. How healthy is George Kittle? They both looked like they were banged up after the last game.
How healthy is Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder?
How healthy is Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder? Is Trey Lance, is he going to be ready to possibly go if Garoppolo hurts himself? And then you got to think, can Trey Lance pull off the potential Nick Foles-esque type of situation where he steps in and takes over the game? They haven't been game planning really for Trey Lance probably. So it might be an X factor maybe. Who knows? This could be an interesting game, folks. This is going to be a fun week to decide who's going to the Super Bowl. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm going to take the Rams, and I agree, though. I'm going with the under because defense is key here. And, folks, don't be surprised if Aaron Donald's got something special going. And Von Miller. Von Miller, by the way, has been one of the best pass rushers in the playoffs this year. He's rating as the best pass rusher so far. Don't be surprised if these guys get some licks on Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance has to go. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
Lots of fun.
Lots of fun. NFL, folks, it sucks that it's coming to the end. The big game is coming up very soon. Be interesting to see who's going to be there. But, folks, that's going to do it for our show. It has been a wonderful, wonderful show. Mixed emotions all the way around, I got to say.
Yeah.
But, ladies and gentlemen,
a little stressful.
Yeah, a little stressful. But it's not done yet. We're going to be stressing. We're probably going to be talking about this for a hot minute. So, folks, just hunker down. Stay with us. Keep on with us. We appreciate it. And, of course, Drew, as always, man, thank you so much for everything that you do, for running things back there and being my partner in crime in this whole situation.
Always fun.
Absolutely, man. And let them know where they can find you, where they can listen to you, where they can ask you about this Bears situation, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know how many more thoughts I have on the whole Bears situation. I think I'm pretty just kind of wait and see on it
yeah,
at this point.
Pretty much.
Yep. So, and again, hope and pray.
Absolutely.
But you can find me on Instagram at d.gwil25 and Facebook at Drew Gwillem.
There you guys go. Make sure, go follow Drew Gwillem on his Instagram. Hit him up. Give him some love. Give him some likes. Let them know what you think about some of these things in sports, guys. Ask him any questions. I know you guys have been asking us in the email some questions for him, so we'll get to those at some point, especially since football, the NFL seems to kind of be going down. So we're going to have more time maybe for some of those questions. So keep your eyes open. Keep them sending. We love them, guys. Also, too, follow us. If you want to follow me, God, I'm all screwed up now. I'm at The Guru on Twitter, but I'm also at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. Make sure to go follow me there, guys. If you want to hit me up with anything, yell at me, all that stuff. You guys are great about yelling at me for sure. Also, guys, too, if you want to check out any more of what we have for the show, find us on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/TeamXBombSports, where you guys can like and follow our page, where you get updates for when the show is going live. Get the live stream for both the Twitch and the YouTube stream as well. We'll be putting both up there. And eventually we will putting the actual recorded show itself also up on Facebook as well for you guys to be able to watch. You have 3 locations where you can go and find it. So make sure to go find us on our Facebook. Of course, we're streaming on Twitch, so if you want to catch us live, it is twitch.tv/XBombSports every Wednesday and Thursday, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., unless we go long like this, which we usually do because we talk a lot. And we have a lot of opinions, of course, and we got great things to talk about. So check us out there as well, guys. And also,
our opinions matter.
And our opinions matter, exactly, just like your opinions matter, too. We want to hear from you as well. Find us on our YouTube page as well. That is YouTube/whatever that long logo is. Just look us up on YouTube, type in XBomb Sports, and look for the bomb that you guys have been seeing in YouTube as well. I'll post up the picture and all that stuff. Look for that logo, XBomb Sports, and that's where you can see the live stream, as well as other videos that we may be putting up there as well, highlights from the shows, things like that. We're going to start incorporating a little bit more of that with YouTube and in the future as well. Also, guys, as well, make sure to go follow us on our social media at XBomb Sports on Instagram and Twitter. And as well, too, ladies and gentlemen, with the social media, if you have any questions, any comments, anything that you want to ask us, check us out at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Send us everything that you got towards us, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what it is. We appreciate it. We appreciate the interactions no matter what. It's much love to you guys. And, of course, too, check out Blow the Whistle. It's our very own David Dykstra, Tyler Butterball, and myself, Andrew Valentin, doing the radio thing on SportsTownChicago.com every Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. We're going to try to get in contact potentially with Brandon, see if we can get him on to talk some hockey. Maybe we can talk a little bit about baseball. The Sox made a couple of signings, so I'd like to ask him what he thinks about them. I'm happy. But nevertheless, check us out there as well, guys. And also, check us out on the TV show side as well every Tuesday, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Central Time as well, guys. It's a great show. We do it right here on the show. You can find it on the Twitch stream and on the YouTube stream as well. Also, too, check out Monday Motivation with Hannah B, done by our very own Hannah Brummer. It's a great podcast on Spotify, Odyssey, and iHeartRadio, along all the other podcast locations where you guys can get your morning preps for Mondays, because we all know Mondays suck, and we need a little bit of uptick, and we need a little bit of upbeat, and we need a little bit of energy. Check out Monday Motivation with Hannah B, or check her out on 102.3 XLC The Drive. She does the afternoon drive, 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys want to check her out, go follow her there. She is killing it on the radio right now, guys. She's doing an absolute great job. Make sure to go give her some love on there. Also, guys, too, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. My mind just went 1,000 different spots right off the bat. Also, guys, too, make sure to go and check out an amazing, amazing, amazing podcast. That is The Parlay. That's right. If you guys are looking for an awesome place to talk about combat sports, again, if you want to talk about what happened at the latest UFC fight, you want to talk about the upcoming boxing matches, check out The Parlay. It's done by our very own Tony Lopez and former Chicago Bull and professional boxer Kendall Gill, as they talk about everything in boxing, MMA, combat sports. Do great interviews with former and current fighters as well. It's great stuff. They put out some new episodes. Go check it out at theparlay.com. And finally, if you guys want to get your fantasy football fixes as well, make sure you guys go check out the Fake Football Guys on YouTube. That's right, myself producing it with David Dykstra for our guys JC and Dustin, as they talk about all the things that you need for your fantasy football needs. We'll be starting up episodes as soon as the Super Bowl's over and start getting ready for the off-season break. Excuse me. For the off-season break there as well, folks. So go again, make sure to go check out the Fake Football Guys on YouTube. Type them out and you'll find the logo right there. Real quick before we go, sorry, something caught in my throat. I'll try and get it out later. One of our guys, this is Hyper Hyper is a legend. Real quick before we get out of here, we'll answer this quick question. He says, "Hey man, and I have a question. I just want invested my whole family on Nick Bosa, and what do you think? What do you make of that question there, Drew?"
Say that one more time.
He says, "I have a question. I just invested my whole family on Nick Bosa. What do you think about it?"
Invested his whole family?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Do you mean money? I'm not sure. Uh,
If your family's invested in him, maybe.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. If it is, I mean, listen, I think Nick
He's
Bosa's
a really good player.
Yeah, he's a really good player. I would say invest in Nick Bosa. I think he's worth the money. If be more descriptive with me. Hyper is a legend. Again, email me or hit us up here on a later show. Let us know what you mean, man. But we appreciate the comment anyways. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching. I gotta go get packed. I'm gonna be flying out of here soon. So thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.